Chapter 14. I hated Dill for how quickly he was able to get Detective Parham's address. It was only a couple of days. I wasn't ready to go through all of this again, but it seemed inevitable. The only difference is that this time we were going somewhere with the full intent to commit a murder. During this time, Tony had apparently changed where he was living. He thought the cops were getting too close to him. When asked where he was staying or what we were going to do, he just told us not to worry about it. He said that he would take care of everything. He took care of every part of the disguises this time. The plan, or really lack thereof, was all on him as well. Tony even officially took on the role of Detective Parham's murder. Dill and I were just supposed to be there for backup. However, on the night of, things didn't go to plan. They never did. We started off by climbing the fence to enter Detective Parham's backyard. Luckily, he didn't have a dog or anything to let him know we were there. It was big, with a pool in the middle that we hid behind for a few minutes. We used it to stay in the shadows while we looked for a way into the house. The sliding door, where lights from the inside of the house were causing the shadows in which we were hiding, seemed like a good option. Through its transparent glass, we could see a woman sitting at a table near the kitchen. She was not our target, but could be useful in getting into the house. At least, that's what Tony whispered to us as we figured out what to do. Seeing an innocent woman as bait was yet another trait in the new Tony that made me uneasy. "You see the security light up there?" he asked us as he pointed to one of the lights positioned to the right of the sliding door. We both nodded. "Dill, you're going to head over in that direction and make the light turn on. Then, Erin and I are going to grab her when she comes out to investigate and head inside." "No, we aren't," I protested. "She was not part of the plan." "She is now," he insisted, "but we won't hurt her. That isn't part of the plan." I reluctantly agreed, and the plan went forward. Of course, it didn't work the way Tony insisted it would. Dill caused a distraction as planned, but the woman put up more of a fight than we had expected. Because I didn't want to hurt her, I held her too loose. She escaped my grasp and landed a knee to Tony's groin. As I struggled to get a hold of her again, she shouted and kept shouting as we pulled her into the house. Once inside, she stomped with her heel on my foot, and in my pain I released her. She ran from me and past Tony, but Dill was there to catch her. As he grabbed her, they both fell and crashed hard to the floor. We thought we had her, that everything from that moment would go to plan. That was until Dill stood up, but she remained on the floor. Slowly, the blood began to peek from around her head, face down on the floor. It was clear that when they fell, her head hit the corner of the first step leading to their second floor. Blood matching that pouring from her skull lay splashed upon that step. "No, no, 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 no," Dill said quietly to himself as he paced back and forth. "Not again." "We've got to go," I said as I started for the back door through which we entered. "No," Tony stated loudly, halting in my tracks. We haven't done what we came here to do. The plan is still to kill Param. Yeah, I rebutted. But this wasn't part of the plan. I pointed to who I now know was Mrs. Param, laying dead on the floor. That doesn't matter, he stated. All that matters is killing Param tonight. He calmed himself down before continuing on. If we don't kill him tonight, then she died for nothing. She died for no reason anyway, I argued back. There was no reason for her to have had to die here tonight. Wrong again, Aaron, he argued. She died so that we didn't go to prison. And now we have to kill Param no matter what. Otherwise, the police will kill us. Kill us? Dill shuddered. Yes, Dill, Tony confirmed as he approached him and grabbed him tightly by the shoulders. We just killed the wife of an officer. Do you think they're just gonna lock us up for that? Dill began to breathe heavily, and I couldn't find any more words to argue. He was right. At that point, we were as good as dead if they ever caught us. There's no way they would have let the murderers of a cop's wife live. Before anything else could be said, we heard a car alarm being set outside the house. Quickly as we could, we all found places to hide around corners and behind the island in the kitchen. That was my chosen hiding place at the time. My heart broke over and over again as I heard Detective Param enter the house and find her body. At first, I heard shouting and then crying. The sobs of a grown man, caused by myself and my friends, was more than I could handle. It only took moments for it to break me. The only problem was that I am not a silent crier. Who's there? We heard Detective Param call out through his tears. Like an idiot, I peeked around the corner of the island I was hiding behind. Our eyes met for a moment before I returned to hiding. Come out now, or I will blow you away, you son of a bitch. He screamed at the person hiding in the kitchen, not knowing it was me. I put my hands up to show him I was unarmed. I didn't want him to come running around the corner shooting. Not knowing if he was going to shoot me on sight, I took the chance and raised to my feet. Why? He pleaded for an answer through his tears, the barrel of his gun pointing directly at my chest. I couldn't finish before he interrupted me. Bullshit! He screamed, caused me to cower away a little bit. Firming his grip on his pistol by placing his second hand on it, he asked me again, Why would you do this? I tried to tell him that it wasn't me, but I was shaking so bad that my throat wouldn't make the sounds. I just trembled in place. Just take off the goddamn mask, he commanded. I want to see the face of the piece of shit that killed my wife. Slowly, I raised my hand up to my head and placed it on the back of the mask. Just as I began to tug on it a little, I heard Dill from around the corner. "Don't!" he cried out. "Don't take off your mask." "There's another one of you?" he asked while looking toward the corner. Taking a couple of steps to his left to get a better look into the kitchen, Detective Parham called out to the voice he didn't know was Dill. "Come out," he began, to no response from Dill. "Now!" he screamed, and Dill nervously stepped from around the corner with both hands in the air. For just a moment, the three of us stood there, Dill and I motionless except for the fearful shaking through our bodies. Detective Parham standing firm, hatred replacing sadness for the time being, aiming his gun back and forth between the two of us. "I'm going to ask you to one more time," Detective Parham warned us. "Why did you kill my wife?" The hatred subsided for only a moment, giving way to sadness while asking the question. After looking over at me for only a moment, Dill turned his head back toward Parham to answer his question. "It was an accident," he uttered in shaking breath. "I'm sorry," he was barely able to force out. Unsurprisingly, this didn't put Detective Parham at ease. The anger within him all bubbled to the surface as he pointed the gun solidly at Dill. After taking a deep breath, I could see his hand tighten on the gun. I screamed out for him not to do it as his finger began to squeeze the trigger. Blood splattered everywhere as the blade continuously entered and was pulled from Detective Parham's neck and chest. Before he was able to let the shot out that would have killed Dill, Tony had gotten behind him and stabbed him more times than I could have counted in the moment. As he fell, Detective Parham shot 4 rounds at us. Both Dill and I both ran and took cover. Somehow, nobody was hit. As Detective Parham lay bleeding out on the floor, I noticed him reaching for the gun he had dropped on impact. I ran as fast as I could and kicked the gun out of his reach. Making eye contact with him, there was a huge mistake. The fear and helplessness I saw in his last moments has stuck with me ever since. I may have spent eternity in his gaze if Tony hadn't grabbed me and dragged me out of the house. We ran as Detective Parham, a good man and a great cop, lay bleeding out on his own home, dying all alone next to his wife's still warm corpse. Thank you for listening. I release new chapters every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you prefer to read, I do release all 3 chapters every Sunday on my Wordpress. If you know anybody else who might be interested in this story, please feel free to share. Thank you.